So I start the streaming right now, so we are ready to go. So I hope it works.
It works. Hi, everyone.
Hi everyone. Nice to see you here to our, I don't know, I cannot count.
So I start the streaming right now,
okay.
so we are ready to go. So I hope it works.
So, okay, YouTube works. We are live. I think the technique works. So welcome everyone to our, I cannot count anymore how many meetups we already run, but it's the 4th meetup remotely in Stuttgart, from Stuttgart, but now to the whole world. And today we are here in the, let's say, virtual connectory of Bosch, because we were, they hosted us so many times and it was always very nice here in Stuttgart. It was really awesome. They have a great space and they connect, like the name says, connectory. They connect, let's say, all kinds of people and companies, and they have really open space. So it's not just Bosch, but they opened up to, let's say, all the companies, meetups, groups, whatever, whoever is interested in collaboration and innovation. So, and we made this date already in January, and that's why we still had this, let's say, this announcement that we will be there. So we just transferred that to the virtual space. So when you read the onboarding document well, you saw that there are also Zoom backgrounds. So we prepared a Zoom background for Lausanne, for Switzerland, one for the connectory and one for us here in our in front of our studio with the bus. So you can just download them, and they are also on the mural board. So I hope you are all on the mural board. You have access to the mural board, because there you can get connected. So now I just make some, let's say 2-3 minutes about, let's say, housekeeping. What are we doing? What you can expect from this meetup. So we have this mural board, and on the mural board you can get connected. We let's say we improved that a bit. So we have now different sections where you can put your LinkedIn too. So there you can already see what kind of people are interested in, let's say, several different kinds of, let's say, collaboration workshops or design sprints, or if you are a beginner and you want to have more information. So we have like different sections, and you can also put there your questions, and you see a lot about the speakers. So I could also share my screen for a second to show you the mural board and give you kind of instruction. So you see here the mural board here. You can find the questions. Oh, thanks a lot. There are already some questions. So please be very engaged. Write a lot of questions. So, and when Steph and later on Volkan, when they have their talks and they their keynotes, you can also add questions specific, especially to these topics. Then here you see the speaker corner, where you have where you see a lot of information about Steph, information about Volkan. So Volkan is from Bosch Power Tools, and he has some really interesting good and bad examples from design sprints. And here you have information about me as well, and let's say all the other stuff. Here you see the Zoom backgrounds. We have a fundraising on Eventbrite. And here you have the networking area. So here you can already try to, there's a lot for design sprint for good cause. Okay, that's nice. And under that, you see there are there's a possibility where you just can post links. So if you have some interesting links to share, or you have a question, or you want to collaborate, or whatever, just put it there. Okay, I think that's enough for housekeeping, and I just want to ask you to keep on your videos, because this, just imagine we would be in a place together. So now it's online, but we are here all together, and it would be great just to see each other. And I think that already gives kind of a feeling of connection. So now we are 5 minutes after. Oh, Volkan, you're there. Hi, nice to see you. You can unmute yourself.
Hey,
so
Volkan. Good to see you.
Hi there. Hi, Steph. Nice to meet you guys.
Hi.
So you can hear me properly, I hope.
Perfect.
Oh, fine.
Okay, so what we will do now, we will have the breakout rooms. So I just want to show you quickly. Okay, these are the speakers tonight, so Steph and Volkan. And we are in Stuttgart, Lausanne, and in the Bosch Connectory. But globally, so Stefan told me, he informed all the other connectories because there are more on the whole world, in Brazil and in Chicago, and also in Berlin and Singapore. Okay, so let's say we are all connected, and we will make now some breakout rooms. So I will create some breakout rooms for you very quickly. I make them automatically. Okay, not too many because, okay. So I think we will be like 2 or 3 people each section. And I would like to ask you just to talk to each other. So we have 5 minutes now, 5 minutes, and just talk to each other about what is special now in your situation, COVID related. So what is your experience? Just take this topic and we talk about that 5 minutes. So each person 2.5 minutes around. Okay, I will create these rooms now. See you. Okay. So I'm curious how that works. It will take some time until everyone is in the room. So have fun, get connected.
Hi, Stephanie. Where are you from?
I think it takes some time. There are still people here.
Ah, okay. Apaltova.
Still people here. And you can now unmute yourself. You can talk. I think it just takes some time. So we see each other still here. Hi, François. François. Hi.
Ja, was hat sich bei dir geändert?
Okay, there's still a lot of people here. So I think it just takes time with the Zoom. Okay, I would say Zoom could just make that a bit faster. So I created 30 breakout rooms. But let's just imagine we are here. Okay. Does everyone has... Andi, die Kamera ist gerade ausgegangen. Die Kamera ist ausgegangen. Lalalala. Okay, und sie ist wieder an.
Ja, also klar, das Gleiche, wir haben das ja ziemlich gepusht auch mit dem Remote und haben uns mit allen möglichen Programmen, Software und Hardware dann auseinandergesetzt. Haben wir schon vorher eigentlich, aber es ist halt, hat sich dann...
Hi Daniel!
Was eben gut funktioniert und was weniger gut funktioniert. Und letztendlich muss man ja gucken, dass der...
So I think just unmute yourself.
Yeah, no, I'm just rejoined here because I was alone in the breakout room.
You were alone?
Yep.
Me too.
Okay.
And now we lost Sabrina.
That's what she said. Now she transported her somewhere else. Oh my gosh. Is your mural also very slow, or is it my internet connection?
Hey, is Sabrina here?
No, she disappeared. Now
disappeared.
again.
Okay. Well, mural, I think there is, if you look on the bottom left, there is a little icon with lightning bolts, if you see it. And try to click on it. It's like kind of a power tool. It's a beta functionality. And if you have it, you should be able to make it faster.
You only can see it if you're a member of the workspace. And we are anonymous, so we cannot see it.
Ah. And if it were my own workspace, what kind of symbol would it be?
A lightning bolt above your picture in the bottom left.
Ah, okay. I can check.
It's pretty new. It was just released a couple of weeks ago.
For everybody or just for some?
For everyone that is a member of the workspace.
Okay. Maybe it's different in the app.
So Sabrina, I came back because I was all alone in my room. So I was getting sad.
I think so. I had the same request from someone. So I don't know what happened. I made that automatically, but yeah, not sure what why that doesn't work. Not sure. Okay, this is we tried that. We tried that already. But I think it's just maybe because it's too slow and people are already going out of that and it takes so much time to include them. But anyway, so I will stop all sessions. So now we have 1 minute left. So really excited to have all of you here, and I hope you enjoy the new mural board and let's say the new structure. And I hope we get a lot of questions. And I also put the last question, the questions of last time. So I think we would have enough to answer in the next section, in the next break, in the Q&A, sorry. Okay, I think people are back again.
Absolut, dass wir also von der kalten Jahreszeit in die warme Jahreszeit gehen.
Back again. Okay.
There is someone on the phone. If you can turn off your microphone, that would be so nice.
Maybe that was Andreas here because he's also in one of the sessions. Could be that it was him. So, Stefan, you are also there.
Hi, Sabrina. Ciao.
Good to see you.
Steph. Ciao, Steph.
Ciao, Andreas. E tu?
Sì.
Live from Milano, right?
Live from Milano.
I know your voice.
So you actually survived. You survived the COVID.
Oh,
yeah.
Until now. Until now.
Good to see you. It's funny because we met in Milano with Andrea, 3 days before the lockdown, and we didn't know.
Exactly. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I don't make another round because we will make other 2 breakout sessions after that. And let's just hope that it works better because I just made that automatically. Maybe I make less rooms after that. But now let's start with we get started now, and I will just give you a short introduction we will have Steph and Volkan as speaker. They will tell us a lot about design sprints. So I don't explain how the design sprint work. I know that Steph make just something very, very quick. And Volkan will tell us something about his experience at Bosch Power Tools, how they experience the design sprint and whatever, how they use the design sprint and the results. And just very shortly, I want to tell you who I am. So whoever doesn't know me, I'm Sabrina. I'm running a design agency here since more than 25 years. And when I saw the designs, or when I experienced the designs, when it was like pieces of puzzles fell to their right space, and I knew that's my tool. And so I love to talk about the design sprint. So I brought you some pictures here, and I met the guy, Jake Knapp, the inventor of the design sprint. And this is a picture of Steph, you know that, from the last deep dive in the Swiss Alps.
At the retreat.
Yeah, from the retreat. It was fantastic. Yeah, that was a huge experience. And as well, the Boulder experience, the Google SprintCon, that was also amazing to see how the design sprint is used in companies and also from all over the world, and in how mature the design sprint is. So that's just from my side. And what I strive for is to connect design, tech, and business. And these are the same words you will find at the Innovation Today. We will talk about that later, the event of the year.
Just that.
And just shortly, so we here in the Design Sprint Studio, we are running design sprints for clients. We are running design sprints as well for a good cause. We are now 100%, we are 100% remotely now. And we are also doing training for companies and also the boot camps. And now I made a very new Advanced Design Sprint Masterclass, just finished yesterday, and we start doing that this week. And that's an advanced learning experience. It's a combination of video, online course, and live sessions, and a lot of things around that. So that's from my side. And now I want to give the stage to Steph with the Matterhorn.
Yeah, I think that you should do the webinar because I'm very interested about your masterclass actually, but I'm gonna present my slides. Thank you so much for having me, Sabrina. Maybe I will share my screen.
Okay. Yes, you're able to do that. If not, I just give you the...
Yeah, you need to give me the rights to share.
Okay. You have them.
Amazing. So I hope you see my slides.
Yes.
Yes, amazing. So hi everyone.
Sorry, please everyone just mute yourself now.
Thank you so much.
Okay, go.
So thank you for having me. I'm Steph Cruchon. I'm from Switzerland, and I'm the CEO of Design Sprint Ltd. So it's a company specialized in design sprint, just like Sabrina's. And I'm also the lead of the Google Design Sprint chapter in Switzerland. And it's been 5 years now that we run Design Sprint, and started in 2015. So yeah, it's a lot of sprints, a lot of experiences. And Switzerland, which is a rather weird country, very nice. It does look like that actually. It's a real photo of Switzerland. We are not all dressed like that, but it's a very interesting country because you have kind of a conservative mentality, and I'm going to talk about that also today, about businesses in Switzerland. I think it's important to understand this mindset. So we've been running Design Sprint for the last 5 years in lots of different configurations. I started with small companies like SMEs, and then it went increasingly into corporates, very big companies. And we have a specificity is that we run design sprints, but we run 1 or 2 sprints, and then we have new sprints from other companies. So there are a lot of facilitators that are experienced running a lot of sprints with the same company. We have been moving a lot and seeing a lot of things. And this presentation is like kind of what I have gathered. And it's kind of what I would like to tell to people in business, why they should run design sprint and why it's important. And I would love to discuss that with you. So if you're here, I guess maybe I would like to see you. Who here already knows what the design sprint is all about? Okay, so I don't see everyone because I'm sharing my screen, but okay, I guess pretty much half of you, which is already amazing. The other half, I hope you're gonna want to run design sprint after this presentation. So we know people in here that companies should run design sprint or more design sprints in order to be, one, more innovative, but also two, more resilient. With what's happening right now with that COVID situation, we need to adapt fast and to be resilient. And design sprint is probably one of the best way right now in the world to gather some people, even remotely. I'm gonna talk about that too. And yeah, to just fix big problems or foresee a bit what's in the future. But what I've seen going to a lot of different companies, sometimes they lack the proper, a real innovation strategy and also the right mindset to integrate the design sprint. And I've seen that at first I thought it was only in Switzerland because people are rather conservative in here. And I've seen discussing with a lot of sprint masters and some of you, is that it's worldwide. It's like there is a category of companies that jumped right in the design sprint, and there are a lot of other companies that are interested. They know the name, they think it's cool, but they are not implementing them yet and not at scale. So a couple of weeks ago, I was we're under crazy lockdown in Switzerland, and there was that talk of Simon Sinek, who is always great, and he said this sentence, that quote, and I think it's really amazing. What he says is that today there are companies that went into survival mode about COVID. They're like in total survival. They are just trying to kind of go back in time or to preserve what they have. While there are other companies that are in total reinvention mode. They've accepted the COVID. They're like, okay, now it's here to stay. We don't know how it's going to be in the next month, in the next years, and we need to adapt. And it's not, regardless of how much money the companies have, it's really about the mindset, how they function, how they operate. I thought it was really interesting, and I want you guys to be, of course, part of the innovators and part of the companies that are reinventing, because it's what we have to do right now if we want to survive, all of us. Just a quick example, if you think about simple businesses like restaurants, if you look around you, maybe half of the restaurants are closed. They have closed doors. They are not operating anymore because they're like, but I can't serve my food. I can't do my job anymore. So I have to close. Another part of the restaurants, the innovators, very fast, couple of weeks after COVID, they were able to reinvent themselves. They started to deliver food at home. They started to organize pickup, drive-in, these kind of things. And that's a kind of simple industry, restaurant, but you see the same in any different industry, all types of companies. Some are just resistant to change and try to keep what they had, and they are in great danger right now. And some of the companies are adapting and are adapting fast. Ourselves, and I know it's the same for a lot of you guys and Sabrina too, we decided right away to go remote because we had to. Our job is to use physical stickies, in its war room, running design sprint physically. Suddenly you have COVID, you can't meet the people, your clients anymore. And we had to find solutions. In a couple of days or weeks, we managed to create templates, to create tools, and to make it work using simple tools like Zoom, Mural, or Miro. And it works, it does work. So even for a workshop-based company, we can make it work. This is amazing. I would like to show you this example. You guys, it's a Swiss brand, Logitech. I guess all of you know the brand Logitech. Turns out that for 30 years, they had the perfect product, which was the computer mouse, and they have been improving the same product over and over. So you see here, 30 years of evolution of the mouse. It's exactly the same product, it was refined over time. Okay. And one day, that guy comes on stage with a weird thing in his hand, the iPhone. What's the problem for Logitech? The problem is that they have computer mouse, and suddenly that guy comes with a touch screen, touch interface. And quite fast, Logitech realized they were like, okay, we are in deep danger, in deep threat, in threat, because more and more people are going to use touch interfaces, and probably they won't need mouse as much. This is the stock of Logitech. And what you can see, so iPhone came out in 2007, 2008, the stock fell because of that, also because of the subprime crisis, of course, but it really went really, really low in 2008 because of iPhone, because there was that massive adoption of touchscreen. It went a bit higher in 2009-10, and then boom, Apple released the iPad, and they realized that pro workers can use touchscreens to work also. So they were like, all the investors were leaving, they were selling their stocks because they saw that Logitech is doomed, right? They are doing computer mouse in a market where people want touchscreen. They are doomed. What happened, do you think, in 2013, before that growth? Just that they hired a new management coming from California. They came with design thinking, and they've integrated design thinking at Logitech massively. Right now, I know that Logitech, they also run design sprints. What they have been doing is not only bringing design thinking, but it's accepting finally that the mouse, they can't just live on the mouse, they need new products. And they've released some brand new products, opening new fields, like the boom speaker, like that clicker, that's amazing too. They have webcams, they have a lot of things like that. And now they are striving. It's one of the fastest growing companies in Switzerland, especially now during COVID, because they are selling webcams, and that's the item that everyone needs, right? But it's because they were agile enough to explore new ideas and try to test new products that they managed to go out of that slump. You can also notice that they are not branding these products under the name Logitech, probably because when they released this product, it was seen too risky to call them Logitech, to attach the brand to them. So they've created a new brand, Logi, in order to release this product. And I think this is very interesting. So what's very interesting is, like, there is that book, The Invincible Company. It's linked to iToday because the creator of that book, Osterwalder and Pinger, they will be our guests for Innovation Today, iToday. It was so important for us to have them because they are the creators of the business model canvas, the value proposition canvas, and they have always been connecting the business world with design. And now what's important, if we want to scale the design sprint and make it integrated more and more in the companies, is that business people understand the value of design and design sprint. So Pinger Osterwalder, they say that the companies are split in two, basically, explore and exploit. Logitech, before, they were exploiting the same product, the mouse, and now they have to explore new fields and new products. Okay, when I go to the companies in Switzerland, France, and Germany, usually, because I'm doing design sprint, I work with the innovation team in the innovation lab, which is amazing because they have football, they have amazing, rooms, and it looks like an IKEA catalog. But for real, when I see who are these people and who are these teams, it looks like this. If you split the company between exploit and explore, you have a company of more than 1,000 people, and they have 2 or 3 innovators, professional innovators, which is a madness because basically they give the responsibility of innovating to a couple of smart guys in a smart lab or innovation lab, and all the rest of the employees are just exploiting what's already existing. These companies are in great danger right now because of COVID, because they can't exploit anymore what they were doing. They need to explore. Problem is that most of their employees don't know how to explore. What I think companies should do, and I see it starting, especially with design sprint, look, it was like that. Instead of this, what any company should do is this. They take some people from the exploit space, so some people who are working on the existing product, they take them for one project, 1 week, couple of days. They assemble small teams in order to explore new ideas. And in these times of COVID, it's what any company in the world should be doing. They take some people from exploitation and they put them in explore. The size of the team doesn't really matter. Okay, in a sprint, it's like 5-6%, but you can have a team of 2 persons that is doing great exploration job. The idea is to create, when you have more and more people who are able to operate existing product, but also to create something new, you have what's called an ambidextrous organization. It's an organization that's able to explore and exploit at the same time with the same resources and same people. So you don't need to hire an external agency, consultants, and you need facilitators or consultants to run these efforts of exploration, but basically any employee is able to explore. So the design sprint is probably one of the best tools to explore interesting ideas. It's a very well-packaged workshop. It's 1 week long, so it goes really fast, and you go from an idea to a prototype that you will test with your customers. It's one of the ways you can really take anyone, even if they're not designers, if they're not into startups, if they are not technical, you take these people, you have a sprint master running a sprint, and these people can actually design something, prototype, and test it, which is amazing. So the design sprint, they relieve a lot of pain points, because a lot of companies, they're like, oh, but we don't dare to do that. We don't dare to release that product. You can say, you know what, it's just a prototype. That's cool. That's fine. You don't risk anything. Companies are used to commission, they ask third parties, agencies, other people to create new products for them. Then with design sprint, they empower the employees. Basically, the employees become makers, which is amazing. In 2020, you need to have employees that are also makers. And of course, it breaks the silos. An extreme example of this, it's of course Google. Google, you all know about the 20% project time that employees have. So they have 1 day per week where they can work on whatever project they want. Guess what? It sounds crazy, it sounds mad, but it works. All these products were created as a starting point from a 20% time of someone, including design sprints, because the 20% time of Jake Knapp was design sprint. So he wrote the book, he created the methodology on his 20% time. So this works, but that's probably a bit too extreme. What you can do too, that's kind of a lighter version. I've seen that working really well in a lot of companies. The key thing for any company or any organization is to share their objectives and their pain points with their employees. Just share what they know, share what's blocking them, and they just tell all the employees, we want to go there, we need to find ideas or solutions to go there. Then you wait for some employees to come. Oh, we have that project, we have that idea. Great. You give a small team, small amount of money. Doesn't need to be hundreds of thousands, can be a couple of thousands at first. And you just give some time and a bit of money to these people to push that idea a bit further. They will come back with a pitch, with a presentation, whatever. If there is some potential, you allocate more resources and more money that allows them to run a sprint, which is a great way to move faster, very fast, faster and to save a lot of time. And then during that sprint and after, they will create a prototype. So you're not only talking about bullet points and slides, you are talking about something tangible, which will give access to the C-level. Because if you want to continue after design sprints, you have a great idea, a great product that you want to push forward, then you will need a sponsorship of someone up top, C-level, senior VP, whatever. But you need to get these prototypes seen by the important people in the companies. So that's, I think, is a kind of a framework that any company could integrate, regardless of the amount of money. Maybe a restaurant is a couple of hundreds, and a multinational is going to be a couple of hundreds of thousands, but you see the idea. So in that book, Invincible Company, there is an amazing tool called the portfolio map. And where they split that explore and exploit space into two squares, basically. You can see here the employees from the explore that are on this project, and the employees on the exploits that are kind of waiting for the new projects to come. And basically, what you need to do as a company right now and in general is to have X number of explorations of ideas that you want to push forward, of opportunities, of problems to fix. And then they're gonna get, maybe at first it's very simple prototypes. It's just a couple of sketches, couple of slides, couple of budgets, and then it's gonna evolve into full-fledged prototype that are gonna be tested and improve until you have a product that is good enough to move to the exploit space. And then it's not the same people anymore. You transfer that project to the persons of exploit who need to make it kind of a money machine. And what do you think is the space of design sprint in here? I think it's very interesting because you can, as a company, you can use that tool to map all your innovation initiatives to exactly pinpoint where they are. And then it's a great tool, visual tool to define which project should be given a design sprint. Well, according to my understanding, I will put the design sprint in here, meaning you don't need all the projects to deserve a design sprint. You take only the most interesting of them. There is already a history, there is already a team, there are already needs, there is already probably some budgets. You run a design sprint, and the design sprint is going to be one of the key elements that's going to move a project from the explore to the exploit area. And I think that's very interesting to spend the budget on these projects and not on all the projects, of course, of innovation. From the book too, and that's an example from Bosch, and I will give the floor to Volkan. But that's, if you read the book, there is a case study about Bosch. So Bosch, for 2 years, they have run an accelerator program between 2017 to 2019. And because it's a big company, they've invested in 200 innovation projects that they have been using, that they have been mapping on this explore exploit. And out of the 200 teams that had projects, so team, maybe it's 1% or 2%. I don't exactly know the amounts for each of the projects, but out of the 200 projects, only 15 teams made it to the end of the explore phase. Maybe if I had to give some design sprints or to organize design sprints, it will be with only these 15 teams, or maybe only 5 of these 15 teams. Then what you can see is out of the 200 projects, only less than 10% remain in the exploit phase or transfer to the exploit. So you need to explore a lot in order to have really good projects and good ideas that make money later that are transferred. I will give the floor to Volkan. I don't know if Volkan has been part of this exact initiative, probably not, but he's gonna tell us about his experience of running sprints and designing at Bosch.
Yeah, Bosch.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Steph.
I couldn't see your questions. I will answer after.
Thank you so much. Here's the book.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know Volkan wasn't part of that team. Maybe.
Hope I know about the projects. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually hoping, because I when I was reading the book, 200 teams at Bosch, I was okay. Volkan is gonna be one part of one of these teams.
It's a little bit. Bosch is huge. You cannot imagine. But yeah, I will directly dive in. So thank you. It fits perfect that you and me do the presentation. What you already said, there were so many things that I wanted to mention, and now I don't have to go too much deep into it.
Sorry.
But so no problem. It's actually perfect because we are on the same vibe. So let's share my screen.
I gave you the co-host rights, so it should be possible.
All right. You just let me know if you can, when you can see it. Is it working?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Übertragung starten.
Okay, so I gave you the, now it works.
Yeah, all right, awesome. Oh wait, is it the right? Yeah, it's the right. All right, so thank you, Steph, for the introduction, and I can directly add into it with more examples from the analog world. So yeah, let's directly dive in. And also introduce myself. So why I do what I do and how I came to Bosch. So when I was a young boy, I found this. at the age of 14, somewhere in the paper store. And this thing is actually the reason why I decided to be a designer. So, ta-da! It's the clip. And if you know Lamy pencils, they take a lot of effort into details. So I was so fascinated by this thing when I had it in the hand. So if you push the button, the clip goes away. So it does not hinder you or is in the way while writing. It's a better feeling when you write. And when you finish and push the button, the clip comes back again and you can clip it wherever you want. So this little detail fascinated me because it literally blew my mind that people think so deep, that there's a group of people somewhere that goes so deep in the experience of writing. Think about it, how people write, what they might look for, what they wouldn't like to have, etc., etc., etc. So this was then the beginning of my journey into industrial design, where I was then, where I was focusing, and I ended up working for little agencies, industrial agencies, working as a freelancer, did a lot for Bitra Bath in Turkey, for Mercedes-Benz visualizations for the C-Class that is driving around, and had a lot of, had the luck to work a lot with Phoenix Design, what was my last station when I then jumped over to Bosch Power Tools. And there I had the opportunity to work in so various fields with so many creatives. So I soaked in a lot of those methods, actually when they were like not that popular by that time. So this is actually then my journey. So coming from this pen over to Samsung, Huawei, Mercedes, you name it, and then starting at Bosch, and thought like, hey, I have the experience, I know what to do, you got the money, now let's rock that shit, you know. And 5 years since then I'm there, and I had to find out that there's a big gap between what I have in my mind, what is possible, and what the people at Power Tools had in their mind, what design is all about. So I would start also for the audience with a little dive into the history of industrial design. So in a nutshell, you know, those handsome guys, some of you may know them, some of you not, but you definitely sat here and there somewhere on their chairs, or been in their architecture, or used products that were designed by them in the 1940s. So Ray and Charles Eames. So what they did were already almost 90 years ago, working very user-centric. So they always looked on the context of what they are designing for. So is it for humans? In which context? Is it in the lobby? Is it a furniture to, you know, to express something? How are the ergonomics when you lounge? How are the ergonomics when you eat something at home? And all those things they tested and tested and tested till they came up with like the final design. And you see here the example of how they did that in the 1940s, and similar test methods since then used not only by IKEA, but also at other furniture manufacturers, for example. So it's very context-centered design, what they did. And there was no name back then. So this is my definition of what they did. And let's go a little bit more forward. So this is not Walt Disney. It looks like him. But everyone knows what he did, I'm pretty sure. So Raymond Loewy was the guy in the also 40s and 50s who had worked a lot in the field of marketing, actually. So he's also an industrial designer, did a lot of industrial design. He shaped the bottle, the iconic bottle of Coca-Cola and Lucky Strike, and also the Shell icon. So you could say he's the designer of the devil, because all that you see here is meant to kill the earth or kill you. But anyhow, you see how much of an impact design has, and I'm pretty sure he did not work alone, but all the methods that were applied back then in some end up somewhere in our present with all the methods that we now use, especially in design thinking and in design sprints as well. Now this guy here, also very well known. Nobody knows, or some of you guys maybe know him from the picture. It's actually Dieter Rams.
Ah.
So he was the designer von Braun in the 60s, 70s, and he came up with the 10 principles of good design to create products that last long in their design and also are long lasting in terms of the usage. So good HMI, good understanding of the product itself and how to use it. And he inspired heavily Johnny Ives and also Steve Jobs, that you till today can see in their designs. And it's just one example of a design which is from the layout and the design pretty similar to the iPod or an Apple product. There's a lots of them. And also Johnny Ives says he was heavily inspired by the laws of design, so to speak, from Dieter Rams. And now we have this guy here. Now it's not Super Mario. It actually is David Kelly, who a couple of years ago, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, fine. So Super Mario, AKA David Kelly, who came up with the idea of the Post-it, the magic Post-it. Actually, he was the one who brought all the processes somehow together to make it work for non-designers. So a lot of methods and tools that industrial designers, interface designers, all the creatives used, he merged into like the method of design thinking together with Stanford, which, you know, is some kind of a revolution, I would say, revolution kind of thing, because a lot of what is defined in design thinking was already out there. But to bring it all together and make like non-creatives or non-designers work in a creative process to get from 0 to 100 in a week, for example, was the biggest step of design actually to come out of this. That's the work of creatives to, hey, everybody can do that. So just to have that in mind. And then design and power tools happened. So when I joined the company as a UX manager back then in a central unit, there was already the central department there since 10 years, I guess, from now. So 5 years, the central user experience unit, which took a lot of efforts to bring processes, educate the people. And what you already mentioned, the mindset is such a huge thing that I will also mention later on. So you need the environment, you need so many things to make a plant grow. It's not just throwing the seed somewhere. You need some kind of water, a little bit of sunshine, etc., to make things go. So the context also of where you apply it is important. And for us, very important also, the user is always the starting point. So we're not that dogmatic anymore, because ideas can come from anywhere, but our idea or suggestion also from design thinking is directly go and communicate whatever you have in your mind and worked out in a design sprint or in the form of a prototype or a suggestion, get the feedback immediately with the users out there. And I have some example. I have much better and much more that I unfortunately cannot show the audience. Therefore, you need to be, all of you, employees of Bosch. Otherwise, I have to kill you. But
okay, tell us and kill us.
Yes. We are very serious with what we do at Bosch. No, it's just joking. But here is just a glimpse of the project of SAML. So there was at the very first beginning, so Zamo is a laser rangefinder, a little tiny one, which is very popular and one of our best-selling little tools. And it needed a redesign. So usually in the big companies, it's then like the same tool, a little bit better, and then you get the Zamo 2.0, 2.1, 2.3, whatever. And in the analog world, I have to tell, it's harder to do like those quick design sprints. They are possible. That this is what we do, and also educated our teams to in the exploration phase to do so. But there, I want to point out also later why it's important to not stick always to one sprint. So the whole project of Zamo took about roughly 1 year, but we were not continuously working on that. So we had always like heavy phases where we used sprints in the very first beginning, where we really started at zero. And I hope I can zoom in. Oh, sorry. So these were the outcomes of the very first sprint that took 1 week. So from like definition of the design challenge, or we did question 0, whatever, in this case, it was more a design challenge that we defined. We started from scratch, and we were one dedicated team. So the project team of Samo were dedicated 100% on just reinventing the Samo. And we came up with all kind of wild ideas that we directly, so we had a lot of insights already from previous researches. So we dived in, created some concepts, checked it with users, and then refined. So there were a lot of little sprints in between. And every time when we had then problems regarding issues of acceptance, or is this working, or is this idea good or better? How do we need to adjust the whole thing? We always did a little sprint with, at the end, testing, and after the testing, synthesis on the insights, and then the refinement of the tool. So very successful. So what I want to also point out is, I mean, you mentioned you don't need those creatives and designers in there. And I must a little disagree here. This was the only point, because this maybe also in the conclusion, I will point it out. It was beneficial to have some kind of creating part of the team. So not as like the how do you say, the longer arm of art, like, hey, make it round, make it this, like, no, they were developers. So you can see the whole team as the developers with special abilities, you know. Those were the X-Men, and the one has fire, the one has water, and the one can control your mind. So this kind of a setting was very, very fruitful. Let's go to the other page. I'll just show a glimpse of what happened, but this is part of the little problems that popped up. So always when we had, like, imagine that as like a design sprint for 2 hours. All right. So engineer comes along, problem does not work, grabs the designer, grabs the product manager, and then they're like hiding away for half an hour. And while they're discussing, the designer already brings it on paper, and immediately then they go away and get back, go away, get back. So a very interesting approach, just to show you those are everything what you see here. It's just a glimpse, and stuff that I can show you happened in only half an hour together with the team. Another example is the glue pen, or Gluey it is called. It's also out there. You will see at the end the final product, where we applied a lot of sprints. And again, the whole project itself was about 1.5 years, something like that. But like the heavy parts where we needed to find the direction, like where are we going, what is it, what we want to have at the end, ended up in being sprints of 1 to 2 weeks. And you can already see, this was it's a picture of mine and a user, where we started with like some kind of prototype and an idea that already derived from insights that we gathered before. And from there on, it was a 2-week sprint of like creating, bringing on paper or make it tangible what they came up with as suggestions, or that we observed while they were doing. So not everybody can like tell you what's going wrong. So the gold nuggets lie in between, when they say like, hey, this is really nice, but you see on their body that they feel uncomfortable. So and those are the parts where you can dive in. And also here, this is actually a technique that I just want to mention that worked very, very good in cross-functional teams. It's the 6-3-5 method, I guess, where some of you might know it. You can Google it. I don't want to go too deep into it, but this is something I did a lot with, like creative teams that can draw whatever. So in my design career before Bosch, and I heavily used it in cross-functional settings with engineers, interns, brand managers, all in one place. All have their view on their on the idea of the other and build on it. And this was amazing, since I thought like, okay, they cannot draw, but with clay, everybody can work. And even if you have a designer sitting there, his clay model will more or less look like the same of the other guys. So there is no like quality issue when you have then that people feel then embarrassed because they cannot do creative stuff or something like that. So this clay model walked through 6 hands, as you can see here. So it started with the one on the upper right, on the upper left with the orange button, went all the way through the cross-functional team and ended up being the version 1.6 on the lower right. So very good methods to work, especially in a big scale on a big company with a very cross-functional team. And the project of the GLUI that you see here, now you see the packaging part. This was an amazing project because nobody had it on the radar. So it was a submarine project. In total, I guess we had something about 10,000 euro for doing research, for doing whatever. Yeah, so for the project, 10,000 euros is nothing. But at the same time, our stakeholders internally and the management was not that aware of the project. You know, so you have a setup of a cool team that just wants to do nice stuff. And as soon as this thing popped up, not being a submarine anymore, you cannot imagine how many people had ideas on why we do so many things wrong on that, right? So it was a very, very hard fight. This was one of the, I would say, lighthouse projects that I supported 40% of my capacity and all of my power just to bring that thing like through. Yeah, so, and there were so many things. I could talk about hours about all the experiences I had also in the context of a big company with the development of that thing. But the funny part was like the first steps, and to get then also like the mindset of the team. They were open-minded. The project team were open-minded to like listen to Volkan because not everybody listens to me, and then it's hard to fight that they listen to you. So rather look for teams and people who are open and willing to participate. And so we did the pen. And after that, like, hey, this goes into a completely new direction. So this was a decoration tool. This is not a power tool anymore. So we need to address it differently. The point of sale is now important because we address it differently. It's not in the Bauhaus and Obi anymore. We address it on different channels. So rethink the packaging. This is the first product where we thought about unpackaging in detail, and about how to make that happen, that you have a nice feeling when you put this thing out, and also the manual, etc. So the whole part. So it started with the pen, and then it went to the charger, it went to the manual, and then to the packaging. So in this case, the whole product was designed very user-centered, and all in the steps we applied sprints of 1 to 2 weeks, sometimes 2 days. It always depends on like the complexity of the project. So here again, so not in the context of Bosch power tools, as you know, the green tools for DIY or the blue tools. So this is not a drill anymore. This is the work with that device is not happening in dusty environment anymore. It happens in your living room. So everything was adapted to a new context, which was not the starting point. So the starting point was like, we need a tool that glues something to somewhere. The interesting thing, okay, I tell you some insights. Right. So the whole pan is a little thick, yeah. So it's like an adding, a very thick adding. And immediately our engineers, who have then a very focused look on things, came up with, well, the ergonomics are not good. And I know ergonomics very well, but again, you have to look in the context. And in the testings we then made after the first sprint, when we made people do a task, gluing something onto somewhere, we discussed with them afterwards, and they glued for half an hour. It's like, what were the things that you liked? What did you thought about this and that? And no one said like, oh, this thing is too thick, I cannot work with it anymore. Because in the decoration, you don't hold this thing for 1 hour. It's like little gluing, and then you lay down on the table or wherever, and then you grab it again, you glue a little bit, and so on. So it was hard to convince the people that even if it was unergonomic, the whole package, the whole appearance, the whole user experience of this pen was far beyond what we had before. And we tested that in several tests with a user experience questionnaire, which I also don't dive into it, but it was better than before, even when the engineers with their focused view said like, maybe not ergonomic and this and that and that. So you have to seal the whole package. Also the example of Steve Jobs with the iPhone. I remember Nokia going nuts like, okay, touchscreen does not work. Our user research and market research says we need buttons. Yeah, you need to have a look on the whole experience, on the whole thing. And then you can say like, okay, this is maybe not good enough, and this is maybe not good enough, but the whole thing is really, really nice. And you would have destroyed it if you would have gone to an ergonomic tool monster. This wouldn't address the topic of decoration anymore as properly. And this is then how it ended up. So you also see we decided like, hey, it doesn't need to be like our classic green, since it's not in the classic tool category anymore, and the people would like to have individual colors maybe. So we decided to have 5 different colors that you can change. Also a novelty in our categories, yeah. So with this thing, since it was a submarine, everything was then already decided, also with our top management, because they liked it then a lot when this thing popped up. And all the others went a little angry because like, there's so much politics that hinder projects like this. So you need to, do a lot. So with these examples, and also there are a few more, but since we started, so the GLUI was like the star project, I would say, so the lighthouse projects that I focused a lot with those methods. And then came the Zemo, and since then we worked in nearly each and every product in that time period. So you can imagine everything started 2016, 17, so that it ended up 2018 and 2019 for the release. And all of them won suddenly awards. So it's not that we were not applying for awards in the past, but the GLUI, for example, was the first IF Gold Award in the category of product, which is the most important for an industrial design, or from an industrial design point of view. And as you can see, everything else also. So there was already then like a feedback from out there, like, hey guys, we're doing something right here. And this is awesome, of course. But not everything is as shiny. And this is like the conclusion. So I was a one-man show back then when we started. Together with me was one colleague, and we immediately built it up for interns of several design disciplines that supported us and the teams then as like the creative out-of-the-box thinkers. And one finding that we had, because the teams that were already taught in design thinking, agile, scrum methods, etc., to like go and explore for themselves, they did not end up with like one awesome working project. And this is why I have to point it out, because when we analyze like, okay, what did we wrong? Why did it not, you know, work all the time? So why can we not reproduce what we did in this, like with the heavy support of me, with the teams? And there was only one missing factor, which was tech designer. So one of my interns was always part of the team. They were like, in this case with the Zemo team, we were next to each other. So the rooms were next to each other. So you could just jump in and grab the designer, or the designer could just grab in and get the head of marketing and the brand manager to discuss certain things. So this was the only difference we did. The others did not have in their project all the time. So it's not like doing something and give it to the designer. They all need to be part of the process. This is very, very important. So what works and what I recommend is always cross-functional teams. I mean, 5 brains are always better than 1. And if you have 5 different perspectives, you are faster, you get new ideas through the discussions. This is a no-brainer, actually. You don't have to discuss that. And what is also important, 1 dedicated task. Yeah. I had teams that I like supported and consulted that had like, when I asked them, first of all, you know, we need 3 days together to go through like a quick sprint. Yeah, I can't, because I'm 20% manager of here, and then I have 20% of my capacity on this project. So, and I was wondering, so do we have people that are 100% dedicated to something? Because we need that in order to get together and to focus. And this is one very important thing in those sprints. The sprints set the team under pressure. Yeah, like you say, like, okay, end of the week, we're gonna test, and we already invited users. Then let's go. So you give the team pressure to do something, and you need then the team there to do something. So very, very simple. But this is really hard to achieve in a big company when everyone is dedicated to 100 things. So it took a while till we could, when we could like have the management at a certain point that they agreed, like, okay, I will give you those developers and whoever is in the project for the complete week. And those are the milestones that took a lot of effort in the company to, you know, start bring this thing on the street. And we are still on the way. But an example that I cannot show here, where we then ended up being glorious, is we had for 6 weeks a sprint that will replace another product next year, which is perceived by the users 10 times better as what we had before for the same user group. And therefore we had 6 developers from Hong Kong here, dedicated 6 weeks. We went to UK, we went to Germany, France, and did sprint after sprint after sprint, always with another focus. It was not always like from beginning to the end of the idea and then test it. But 6 weeks, we focused always on steps and phases and different ideas that then popped up along the way, and super successful. And this is also a lighthouse project that is pretty known now and goes here and there and all around to show what we are capable of if we do the things right. Because in big companies, design thinking, user experience, whatever pops up is a buzzword. As it goes through the company, everybody knows about, and yeah, we have to now do this and that and this and that. But especially in design thinking, mindset to, you know, be open for that, and then also to sacrifice what was there before is crucial. Agile methods, I don't have to mention that. Design thinking, a lot of methods that you can apply from the Agile world, also from Scrum, and tweak them. So this is also some problem of big companies. It needs to be written on a template, and it needs to be always the same template. And I say, like, no, like, because your problems are not always the same as well. So you always have to look also on the methods and maybe tweak them to make them work for you in a better way. And very important, low hierarchy. So the team that I showed you, you can imagine the head of marketing is, yeah, pretty senior, so to speak. And my design intern is a newbie. But never ever in this constellation, you could tell who is the boss in the room. And this is also an important part of the setting of the teams. Like, and also, again, we are in culture and mindset. So if you can establish a culture where everybody's opinion is equal and you treat each other on the eye level, this brings a team wider and beyond your imagination than like having one boss in the room and everybody says, yeah, whatever he says. So our ratio in the projects that I showed you before was always at least one designer of whatever discipline and whatever senior intern, doesn't matter, to 4 developer or rest of the cross-functional team. This was very important conclusion when you then compared the projects that we supported as like the expert team, and then versus the projects that were done by the teams that had no designers on board. And yeah, from the conclusion, so how to get there? Huge companies are like organisms. You cannot describe it in a different way, and each organism is different. So you cannot compare Bosch with Google or Google with Mercedes or you name it. So you have to also dive into the culture, and this is the first thing you have to do. And this is also the first thing we focused a lot in the beginning, the first 1 to 2 years. Train the people, discuss, bring the outer view inside the company, bring the people from inside the company out to the users. I had people in trainings when we went to real users with a real project and problem that developed for 20 years in the company, laser rangefinder, for example, and they have never been out there talking with the people who use it. And they were surprised, like, oh, okay, that's why they don't get the manual. And because the manual is the first thing that goes into the dump when they pack this thing out of the box. And it was an eye-opener for a lot of our developers to just go out there and talk to the users, which again comes to like our design sprints and is connected to that you have the users involved in the decision making. So my personal advice is also that I now, from 5 years hardcore company experience, is question everything. So you will, if you are in the company, get always like, okay, this is not possible because, oh no, we cannot do that since blah, 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 blah. So immediately when you come up with like, hey, what about the borders come up. Yeah, you cannot go here, you cannot go there. It's like, this narrow, this is your space that you can move. And immediately I started, so I'm a kind of rebel. Yes, I have to say that you have to have a little bit of that in your DNA, but you have to question processes like, okay, why do we have that? And we were able then, because of this questioning, to skip processes, to reshape them. This were then also part of sprints for HR, for our internal business units, to rethink their processes to make those methods and the sprints happen. Because there's nothing more frustrating if you have engaged people, open-minded, who go out, intrinsic motivation is in their eyes, yeah, bleeding out of their ears, and they come back and they get told, no, you cannot do that. Nice solution, but you know, we have to think about manufacturing EBIT and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, we need 5 months to go through the quality testing. Question everything, because you cannot change a culture that you need in order to get the mindset if you're not questioning what is there. Very important.
So sorry for interrupting you, Volkan. We have, let's say, 1 or 2 questions, and when I just look at the time, you told me that you have
that was 10 minutes. My blog is telling me 10 minutes. Oh, sorry. All right. I said there's so many things. 10 minutes
it's
will
so
be very.
It's incredible interesting. I just thought because of the question, so I would like to, could I add a question to that, because I see something very interesting, let's say 2 interesting things. So are you using prototyping at Bosch?
Depends on.
Are you familiar with the prototyping concept? It's like you, I think the question comes from Robert or from Sandy.
Kidding, from Alberto Savoia.
From Alberto Savoia, exactly. So that you already not question, not asking the users, but you really throw it on, let's say they have to put skin in the game. So they have either put time into it or invest money. So if they really want to buy it or use it, you know, not just telling you, okay, I like it.
Yeah.
Do you use such methods?
Yeah, we do. But it always depends on the scope on where you are. So it's again, we tend to not ask the people if they like it. So we always go in whatever we do with very open questions and try to find what lies behind their behavior or decision making. But we also go in there and check the business model. So also the business model canvas that you mentioned before out of the book is heavily used by the teams themselves. So this is always when I or when the coaches dive in, they not support anymore. This is something that worked out pretty fine. So the business part of it, where you can where you then also go out and check those hypotheses or your business model that is based on the insights that were popped up before, is heavily used by like our internal teams themselves. So yes, but it always depends on the focus on the project.
Yeah, sure. And I have another one here for Volkan. Any tips to talk about design sprint to heavy engineer company? I guess that is a question regarding how, as an outsider, external.
Yeah,
I think.
So
my assumption.
Show examples. So it is really hard, like I said, to engage people who are like this and doubt that it is helpful. And I did my job since 20 years and I do it like, you know, I understand what I'm doing, etc. With engineers, especially from an industrial designer point of view, is you have, or this is in discussions anyhow, try to avoid you stand on this side and I stand on this side. So what I do then, when I have discussions with engineers, whatever, I get them on my side, or I sneak over to them to say like, okay, there's the problem. So how would you tackle it? And then you get them, they're no enemies anymore. So this is something psychological I use from time to time, But at the end, so this is the example of GLUI, was, like I said, pushed by me to have one example that leads to another example that convinces someone else. And also I have to deal with a lot of, or a company that is grown out of engineering, to convince them. So you needed not one example, I needed 3 to have at least the critical mass of the engineers on my side.
So like making things tangible.
Yes, definitely.
I have another question from Benoit. What were the top things that helped move the mindsets?
Top things. So what we indeed did, which is actually a no-brainer that everyone could do, we brought the outside view into the company. So in the company, there's a lot of movement from Bosch Power Tools to Bosch Smart Home or whatever, but they don't see how Google, for example, is tackling things, or how an extreme user research specialized design agency is working in UK. So we invited people similar to the TED Talks to have them in our office, invited then all the employees to have then a quick presentation from the speaker and then go into discussions. And the only thing that all the speakers had in common were it had to do something with user-centered working. So we had people from Datev who told us how he built up the UX structures for Datev, etc., etc. So I don't have to deep dive into that, but that worked a lot, that people started talking with each other, and then they connected also from this business unit and this business unit, because we also invited not only PT people, but also other Bosch guys around Stuttgart. And also within PT, heavy connections started to occur. So networking in the company, in Power Tools themselves, like, oh yeah, you're an expert in, yeah, you too. Okay, I like programming, me too. Well, I'm working for measuring technology, I'm working for drills. And then suddenly those things, you know, started to arise. But again, we are still in the, you know, process of getting there, but bringing the outside view into there helped to shape the culture, or at least show other cultures that inspire to move your ass and shape your own culture.
Great. So I have also some questions for Steph. But just before I go to Steph, just let me know, is there, oh, you're nearly finished. Okay. So thanks a lot, Volkan, for your insights. It was crazy interesting, and I think that makes everything more tangible, because when you have, I think you made a very good picture. You built a very good picture for us to see how you use, let's say, design sprint with in combination, and also, let's say, variation. And I think you have to adapt it. That's totally clear. So that was fantastic. And I wanted to ask Steph, there are some questions for the Design Sprint Quarter, but before we go into that, I want to ask you about the Innovation Today. I think that's not so known yet, and that's crazy interesting, because you also mentioned the book, this inventable company, and we can see these guys there together with Jake Knapp, so that will be very amazing. How did you get these guys there?
Yeah, so basically we are a design sprint agency, and our role, I will say, is to evangelize about design sprints, to make people excited and interested about design sprint. And also the problem is that, you know, like I'm talking to you tonight, but you are all sold already. You are all designers or in the design space. You know the value of sprints. And our mission, collective mission, is to be able to access, to reach some stakeholders, some other people who are not in the design space already, but who are in the business space, because they are these people who decide For example, Bosch, Volkan, you were so lucky to run, I don't know how many design sprint in your own company, but a lot of companies just don't even, they run an experiment, but they don't scale it. And there is such a potential. So we were like, okay, how can we talk and reach to this business person? And clearly the Alex Osterwalder, Yves Pinger, they are the specialists of this field, business model canvas, value proposition canvas, now Invincible company, and they are Swiss. They live close by, and we're like, okay, you know what? We are friends with Jake. Jake is gonna say yes. These guys are Swiss. They live nearby. Let's book a conference center, like a crazy venue, and we're gonna bring all these people together for giving masterclasses and workshops. Turns out that COVID came, right? So it kind of changed our plans a little because it was supposed to be in August with the masterclasses at the Congress Center in Switzerland. And what we've decided to do is basically 2 events, which is really cool. So we're going to have one virtual event that's going to be in August 2021, and we're going to have masterclasses in Switzerland in February, because by the time COVID is going to be hopefully gone or less.
We hope so.
Yeah. And and that's what we have. So it's iToday. First of all, thank you for our amazing sponsors who are here, because without them, we just couldn't make it. I know Benoit is here, so he's from Knowledge Experts. So thank you, guys. And we have these 2 events, iToday Virtual Summit, iToday Masterclasses. And just look at the lineup of the summit. I just can't wait to welcome them. So Jake Knapp, of course, the inventor of the design sprint, Alex Osterwalder and Yves Pinger, who have created the business model canvas. They're gonna present us their new book. Rama Diallo, she's the CEO of Orange Money in Africa, and they are, releasing products that are touching millions of people in Africa. So she's such a great lady. She has amazing stories to tell about tech in Africa. Surya Vanka, everyone knows Surya, right? He's here, no?
Surya?
Surya, where are you?
Ah, Surya!
Surya, we can't wait to welcome you. It's gonna be amazing. So Surya, I met him the first Google Sprint conference. According to me, it was the best talk, even better than Jake's. And so I can't wait to have you, Surya. Katie Swindler, also amazing. She has a crazy talk about designing for something that saves life. We have the VP of Innovation of EPFL University, Jonas. He's a specialist in holacracy and agile. So he runs a company where everyone knows each other's salary and everything. So that's super interesting to talk with him, because they're a bit in the future, I would say, of work. And Leila von Alvensleben, who is the head of culture and collaboration at Mural, and she's running teams of hundreds of people remote. So we're gonna have all these people, and it's amazing. And I think I've slipped a coupon code. If you go to your Mural board, there is a coupon code for iToday Summit. You just go on this website, it's summit.itoday.ch, and you can register there. And one thing I think interesting is, like, we will try to run it a bit like it's a meetup. So it's either you are watching the live stream and it's kind of like a show, or you are part of the show. And people are going to be in the same Zoom room with open camera. You're going to be able to ask directly a question to the speaker. And it's going to be short presentations, but a lot of Q&A. And because that's what we love. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's what we love. And I think that will be amazing. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's a pity that we cannot do it in Switzerland, but
well, it's going to be in February. Yes, in February, it's going to be 2 masterclasses. Jake Knapp for Design Sprint and Pinger Osterwalder for Invincible Company. So it's 2 days.
I think, Volkan, you can just spread the word about that in your company. I think
I will.
You should.
Definitely.
No, I mean, we are super excited because, sometimes you need to accept that the COVID is here. You can't do the event the way you wanted. You need to adapt, find another plan. And for us, it's even more exciting because there is so much you can do with virtual events. And I swear it won't be boring. It will be highly interactive. And yeah, we can't wait. And I'm becoming very nerdy about streaming.
Yeah, and so there are a lot of other questions. So maybe I just pick one regarding selling design sprint, because I was asked so many times, and also last time that was a huge interest. How to convince a potential client to buy a design sprint, or what would be the best advice you can give to people who want to earn their life running design sprints? Oh, there, some nice ones. Maybe just a quick reply to that. Maybe Volkan, do you have an answer to that?
Maybe be persistent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree. I think you said it.
Examples, right?
I think you said it just before. You have to show what you are capable of, and it's so important to show some case studies, which is super hard because, as Volkan said, he has better case studies. I have a lot of case studies that I can show because we signed a lot of NDAs, and the most interesting ones, we just can't show them. I see Rob the same, like Jim too. There are a lot of things we would like to show you, we can't. But what I can do, at least personally, there are some case studies I can show in private. So I think it's very important when you run your first design sprint, convince your clients, can I show the case study in private? I will anonymize everything what's too critical, but please let me show it to my next clients. And I think you start to be able to make a living out of the design sprint and to sell them when you have at least one good case study per industry. Like if you sell a design sprint to a bank, you should have a good case study for a bank or an insurance company because it's close. You see, if you sell a hardware design sprint for people like Bosch, it's great if you have already run a hardware design sprint. So that's my advice. I mean, run as many design sprints as you can. Try to get the agreement from the client, even if you need to run them for free at the very beginning, or for education, or for cheap. Just get some experience, get case studies, and then you're going to be able to sell them.
What is also important, I would like to add something, which, I mean, you can convince, you don't have to convince us here, right? But usually you have to handle with people who are not familiar with the topic, or who are, just into business, which means numbers and money. And if you also have, it's not only the case studies, ideally the case study, was realized later on. So this is also part of being persistent to follow up. Yeah, like, hey, what happened with the design sprint that I supported as a coach, for example? And what was the benefit of it? Did you save money? Was it cheaper to produce? Those are the numbers also that you can convince those stakeholders that at the end, they don't care if you do design thinking or whatever. They are only behind the numbers. Do we have innovation, and do we make money at the end of the year? So this is also how I got our stakeholders like, hey, we are faster, we are better, and we spend less money. Like, okay, I have 3 arguments that, give me a better one not to do it.
Yeah.
So numbers are important.
There is also, this is so key. One last argument you can add is like, it empowers the team, it empowers the employee. There are so many people who are disengaged from the company. They don't feel they are empowered. They don't feel they can bring new ideas. They can bring something to their companies. And I think it's so key. You bring these people and you ask them what they think. They can be creative and they love it. And if you want to retain your talents, you have to give them, to make them part of this creative effort, and not hire external designers, because there is nothing more frustrating for someone in a big company.
I have also a question for your quarter. So maybe just one question to that. So how is your design sprint quarter going? Are there updates? And there's also a question about if there's a mural template.
No. We've done a mural template for the design sprint, and Miro, you can find it. It's called the official design sprint template, which is big enough already. The quarter, for real, it will be monstrous if I had to create one template for the whole quarter, because the quarter is 3 months, right? So packaging 3 months of workshop on one board, that's a lot of,
Maybe we can just say that there is. I made a post on the mural board.
Yes.
For the blog post, And there you can see the, let's say, the outline of the structure of the process. But are there some news? Is there something for?
So yeah, I will also share the post of the quarter. So just to, I didn't want to show it in that presentation because it was quite a broad presentation, and I think the quarter is kind of nerdy. Really, the best is that you read. I mean, it's amazing, it's cool, I love it, but it's nerdy. You really need to be deep into innovation, product design, sprints to. Yeah,
we can make an extra session for that, but maybe
exactly.
just the answer. Is there something new for?
I think so far it's good as it. I've heard some good feedbacks. I'm not using it that much for myself because I'm a small company and agency focused on the design sprint, so we don't get to do that many very long-term projects. Even if I would love to run sometimes long projects, but I've done that for years, but now we focus more on sprints. But I've heard some really great feedbacks from big companies, like there is a bank in Denmark that is using it as the innovation process. So I think this is cool. I'm sure you can. Wow. I'm sure you can adapt things, you can improve things, but I think it's a good base. So you can follow the steps and see what works for you.
Okay, we have still a lot of questions here on the board, but I would like to make the breakout sessions as well. We are already a bit over time, so maybe just a last one. How to combine design sprint with a regular innovation process? Maybe I just can add something to that. What is a regular innovation process?
Exactly.
Thank you.
Maybe whoever wrote that, could you just speak up? If not, we just interpret innovation process. Steph?
I will say, okay, my answer to this. I think the sprint is a very solid brick in your innovation process. And if you don't have it in your toolbox, you should consider adding it and see exactly where it fits. I think I will put the design sprints probably a bit after a value proposition canvas, if you do these kind of things, and a bit before a business model canvas, where you have the whole business already designed. So I think you need to do it quite early, but not too early, because if it's too early, you don't have the right team, you don't have the right budgets. So it already needs to be a project that is started. But it's really that pivotal point between it's a good idea and it becomes a project. That's where we'll put the design sprint.
Yeah, maybe if we look at the portfolio which you showed us from the Invincible company,
yes.
where the exploration phase goes into the other phase. So I would say there in this round there is when we just take the whole quadrant as an innovation phase, then it's more in the end of the very, let's say, of the of the exploration. But it's before you start the process, before you start developing.
It costs some money to run the design sprints. And it costs some money because you need to hire a facilitator and you need to ask a team to work on it for 4 to 5 days. So you shouldn't do it in the first days of an innovation project. Maybe you should do prototyping or research or whatever. There are other things you can do, or interviews, but you should do it when you know that it's a good idea, when you're like, I don't know, 70% sure that this is going to become a project, because then you're going to have the team, you're going to have the budget to actually run your design sprint. So what I like in this illustration is like, not all your exploration projects should deserve a design sprint, but just take the top ones, the most interesting ones, and you commit a bit of budget and a team to run a sprint.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, so I would just wrap it up very quickly. I would like to ask you, Volkan, just thank you very much for being here, for speaking about.
No, thank you. It was also the first time participating in the Design Sprint Meetup. and it's awesome. So
maybe we see each other very soon in the Connector Week again.
Yeah, pretty sure.
when we are able to do that. So a quick question for the end, just to know something, let's say another perspective or of your person, what you are aiming for when, let's say, the lockdown is over, it's a bit over, but when we can travel again and meet again, what is your first wish, your top wish?
Traveling is my first wish, to be honest, because I'm a family guy, and so my father-in-law, he lives in Turkey, and we haven't seen them for 2 years. Since then I have my second child born, and there's a lot in between that shouldn't be a screen. And that's why I'm really looking forward. It's the first thing I will do, go to Turkey and visit them so that they can also see their grandchild. This would be the most important thing for me at the moment.
Right. Thanks for sharing that with us. Steph, last question also to you, what you are looking for.
Yeah, traveling not too far.
Except the I today.
Yeah, I today. Yeah, it's just this on my mind. No, but this is great. I'm very happy to run I today to propose that, because it's gonna be a sad summer, I think, with a lot of festivals, a lot of things cancel, and I think it's at least for us, it's so exciting to have this coming. You see, to have a project. I'm looking forward to run workshops with these, physical post-it stickies in one room. Yes, so I'm missing that. I'm missing that smell of glue, and I'm also missing the kind of going for a gig. Like you take your sprint box, you take your stickies, and you go to the client for the week. You travel, you sleep at the hotel for 1 week. I'm missing that a bit, like kind of that rock star life. Well, rock star sprint master's life, at least. I mean, it's great to do it using webcams and everything, but I need that excitement. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So thanks to all of you. And I just can tell you, usually we do these frequently once a week meetups, but since it works so well and I really like it, and it's so wonderful to connect, at least to connect virtually with people if we don't have so many opportunities. I plan to do that in 2 weeks from now, and the next guest will be Brittany Bowering, and she will talk. We will talk about, let's say, how to sell design sprint with content marketing. So I think that will be very interesting. Just an outlook for next time. So I'm getting better with planning. So I would like to start the breakout sessions. So we want to do 2. So if you have still time, because I plan to stop at 8:15, but I will just do 2 breakout sessions with 5 minutes, and whoever wants to stay here can just take part. And thanks a lot. And I will now end all the recordings, and we will make the breakout sessions. Okay. So
I already say bye. I have to leave. Bye. It was nice to meet you guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Steph. Bye, Sabina. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you, Volkan. Thank you, everyone. It was great having you. Great.
Yes. So I will start. I think now I have to do new sessions. Just a second. So let's start the sessions. No, I have to. Sorry, I need. So people are going, so I have to make less sessions. We start. See you. So I hope that works this time. It's really slow. But let's see who will. I make that automatically. So it's a surprise. Happy networking. Happy networking. And thanks all of you. Bye-bye.